Wow, I don't know if you can smell these flowers. They smell amazing. Thank you, kids, so much for bringing all these beautiful flowers in. So I was sitting on the front deck of my neighbor's house the other day, enjoying a little cheese and sparkling juice. We were celebrating my friend's birthday. And their front deck looks out on their garden, which is one of those sort of oasis-type gardens that you have to be inside to fully appreciate. From the road, it looks nice, but it isn't until you are sitting inside of it that you can really witness to the beauty of it. And I was marveling at how stunning it looked. Not just the flowers, but all the different shades of green, and all the textures and the variety of plants and trees. And I asked my friend, how do you get your garden to look so lush and alive and inviting? My garden, just down the road, is none of those things. And I wanted to know the secret. And my friend said, time. It just takes time. At first I thought, well, that's the problem with my garden. Between my work here and my family, I don't have a lot of time to spend caring for my garden. It looks a little dry and forgotten, frankly, because it often is, and it isn't inviting. It isn't teeming with life. It's just kind of a patch of bare dirt with some spinach growing in it, because as you might remember, I passed out spinach seeds at Earth Stir, so I had some left over. I kind of threw those out there, and they're doing great, but that's about all I did. So my friend admitted he spends all of his free time in his garden. Besides his part-time job, he is semi-retired. His garden is his main occupation. And so I said to him, well, what do you do? And you spend all that time in your garden. What are your tasks? And he said, well, I plant, and I weed, and I prune, and I water. Sounds simple enough. And then he told me the story of his garden. He pointed to different plants, explained their names, when they best thrived, and under what conditions. He told me who had planted them, whether it was him or the people who had owned the house before him or the people who had owned the house before them. And he talked of having to cut down beloved trees because the garden needed more sun or because the trees were sick. He pointed out several hydrangea bushes that he'd been trying to bend in a certain direction, and they wouldn't go. For years he tried. And then one morning, after the snowstorm in February, after the snow had melted away, he went outside and he found the bushes were bent exactly the way he had always wanted them to be. But then he looked underneath and he realized all the branches had been broken by the weight of the snow, and so he'd actually have to cut them all off. And he lost half of his hydrangea bushes. He told me of the birds that made their home in his garden, how he watched them go about their lives, little babies being born, fights breaking out, birds dying or flying away. And I realized that the time he was talking about, the time that this garden needed to look the way it did, wasn't just the time that he spent on it, it was time itself, the passing of time. His care and attention, his personal time, combined with that larger web of life, the greater time, the two working together had created something really special. Honoring these two things, where the greater passing of time meets our personal energy and investment, is what the flower communion is all about. For Unitarian Universalists, this is a high holy day. It marks the transition from one time of year, one rhythm of life, to a different rhythm. It It'll be summertime soon. We'll get outside more, take vacations, and take time to appreciate sunny days in nature and all that the Pacific Northwest has to offer. All the gifts of this place we call home. Time will stretch and take on a different meaning, with long days less scheduled. And here we are together today, kind of sitting on the front porch of this moment in the life of this fellowship. And I want to invite you to marvel in gratitude at the garden before you. Much like my friend's garden, this fellowship benefits from time, the time and energy of each person here. Whether you are here almost every day of the week, and there are some of you, I know because I see you, or you just come on Sundays, or even if today is your first day visiting us, your personal time here is a gift, especially in a world where we seem to have so little of it. It is a gift that makes this community grow and thrive. And there are many people in this room and outside of it who have invested considerable personal time, and it shows. And it's not only personal time, it is that larger time. Almost 70 years, this fellowship has had a life of its own, and not a single one of us here in this room have seen all of it. But we can witness to it together. The unique story of this place, the story of this garden. Like my friend's garden, there have been gifts and challenges, stormy weather and sunny days, and the story goes on. Many people over the years have tended to this garden, planted and pruned and weeded and watered. And now that task has been passed to us. And we spend our time and energy watching over it. Future generations will come along and take over those tasks, and the story will continue. These flowers represent each one of us. We are all different. We bring different gifts and challenges, but together, our personal time and energy combined with that larger time continues to create something special. These flowers today are our offering of ourselves to this community and to one another, an expression of gratitude for all we have shared this year. And they represent our diverse beauty, our strength, and our fragility. These flowers won't last forever, but the garden goes on. This is our garden that we have spent the year tending. Each one of us in our own way, and every little bit contributes to the story. The 13th century German theologian Meister Eckhart once said that if the only prayer you ever say is thank you, it will be enough. Because we are UUs, we not only say this prayer to the spirit of life that exists in all creatures, that larger time whose reality we can't completely grasp, we say this prayer to one another, that we have participated together in the give and take of real community and real connection. Thank you. Because make no mistake, it takes work to keep a fellowship going. The personal time that some people have contributed is staggering, and we should all be grateful to them. But I also want to stress that every contribution, large or small, is valuable. When you bring yourself, just as you are, you make this garden beautiful. And so here is what I invite you to do. In a moment, we will be participating in the flower communion. I'm going to give you a little background on the history of it, and then I'm going to invite you forward to take a flower. And during that time, I want you to call to mind two things: a gift you gave and a gift that you received. Think about the time between September and now. Perhaps you are new to this fellowship, and the gift you gave was waking up early this morning when you could have slept in. And the gift you received was a smile or a welcome from someone when you walked in the door. If you've been a member of this fellowship for a while, you likely have many moments you can recall, but try to focus on just two: a gift you gave and a gift you received. You don't have to tell anyone. This is just between you and the flower that you choose. The first flower communion was celebrated on June 4th, 1923, by Norbert Čapek, who I said founded the Unitarian Church in Czechoslovakia. It was brought to the U.S. in 1940 by Dr. Čapek's wife, Reverend Maya Čapek. While Maya was here in the U.S. during that time, World War II broke out, and she was unable to return to Prague. After the war was over, she learned that Norbert had died in a concentration camp. But his flower communion lives on in UU congregations around the world. And there is a traditional blessing of the flowers written by Norbert Čapek to begin the ritual. And it's been said ever since then. So I invite you into a moment of prayer as I bless the flowers. And you can join me, you can hold up your arms if you want, or you can keep them at your side. Infinite Spirit of life, we ask your blessing on these flowers, these messengers of fellowship and love. May they remind us, amid diversities of knowledge and of gifts, to be one in desire and affection. May they also remind us of the value of comradeship, of doing and sharing alike. May we cherish friendship as a most precious gift. May we not let awareness of another's talents discourage us or sully our relationship, but may we realize that whatever we can do, great or small, the efforts of all of us are needed to do our work in this world. Amen. Now we will have our ritual. Each of you will choose a flower to take home. Logistically, we'll see how this goes. In my mind, we start in the back and on the sides. And Gary Sykes made a great suggestion that we should exit our row on the right and come back on the left. That would be that way and that way for you. And after you choose a flower, please return to your seat. Brian will play some music for us, and let us share together in this Unitarian Universalist ritual of gratitude and oneness